there, and welcome back to another review. Today we're going to be having a look at The Magnificent Butcher, directed by Yuen and starring Sammo Hung. I have it here in this free film box set that was released by Eureka along with Eastern Condors and Iron Fisted Monk. Made in 1979, as mentioned, directed by Yuen Sammo here plays Butcher Wing. We have Kwan Tak-hing here as Wong Fei Hung, a role which I think he played in around 70 movies. It might even be over 100 movies, I'm not too sure, but it was a role he was very synonymous with, and I think the last time he played it was in Dreadnought, again directed by Yuen Woo-ping. Worth mentioning as well that in this film Yuen Bu plays Lung Foon, a role which he would later play again in the Once Upon a Time in China first film, directed by Soy Hark. The film was very much using that drunken master template, and I think this is why a lot of people love Magnificent Butcher, because it is very much a Yuen Woo-ping film, obviously, but it's Yuen. That's what was so wonderful with Yuen Woo-ping. He did work with Yuen Bu, he did work with Sammo, he obviously did work with Jackie Chan, and this was them sort of trying to do a Drunken Master-esque type film, just with Sammo in the lead role. Like I say, with Wong Fei Hung in the movie, the beggar, So characters, and featuring Sammo Hung. Unfortunately, Yuen Su-tin died, Simon Yuen, when this film started production, so his role was replaced by Fan Mei-sheng, who you will probably remember from films such as Young Master, and most notably Ricky-O, Story of Ricky. Early on in Sammo's career, and I'm sure he realised that, he relished the chance to work with Yuen Woo-ping and Kwan Tak-hing, so he was very much willing to work with as many people as possible. I mean, Sammo, more so than anybody he broke into the industry, much before sort of Jackie Chan. He was getting more notoriety before sort of Jackie Chan. Jackie Chan wasn't long after, but Sammo, I'd say, was willing to work with as many people as possible. I'd say, if nothing else, just to gain more experience and knowledge, that, Yuen Woo-ping and Sammo Hung and their choreography, I mean, it works really well together. And as Kwan Tak-hing films have seldom been... The Kwan Tak-hing as Wong Fei Hung, his films have very seldom been seen out of Hong Kong. I mean, I've never seen any of them, but I am aware that he'd done many upon many Wong Fei Hung movies. It's very important to note this film is really a meeting of two generations, like him being the actor embodiment of Wing, Fu Hung, that everyone knew, and Sammo Hung being the new fresh, because he was Kwan Tak-hing, everybody knew him, and Sammo Hung being sort of the new fresher face sort of for the youthful audience. So it's very much in a way sort of old and the new, and almost transitional film, like here, like I say, with Kwan Tak-hing playing Wong Fei Hung. I mean, absolutely amazing casting choice. Why not get the original guy who played Wong Fei Hung? I mean, even though Kwan Tak-hing's role in the film is slightly small, do not underestimate his appearance in this. I mean, when we are introduced to him, he's doing press up with just 6 fingers. I mean, I think he was about 74 at the time of doing this. And if you look at that opening shot when we're introduced to Kwan Tak-hing, Wong Fei Hung, he's doing, like I say, he's just using 3 fingers on each hand, doing some press-ups at 74 years old. Amazing. Absolutely incredible. So the film opens with Butcher Wing, played by Sammo, as I mentioned, getting up to shenanigans in the market. Rival Butcher, who manages to get his hands on Sammo's pigs after he trips, says, "Call me dad and you can have them back." So it's that typical sort of kung fu comedy that we get used to in sort of Yuen Woo-ping vehicles. There's always sort of an opening comedy slapstick scene that has nothing necessarily to do with the plot. It just gets you introduced to the character, just gets you introduced to what kind of film it's going to be. So Sammo keeps calling him dad and taking 2 pigs each time. He then helps this old guy who's yelling out thief and attacks the person, even though it's only for a chariot piece from a game they were playing, sort of like a chess sort of drafts type game. Just like I mentioned, just introducing the characters here. We meet Lee Hoi-san as Master Ko, our main villain. Lee Hoi-san being very reliable, been in so many films, too many to count, way too many to count, but films like Project A, he's in Warriors 2, he was also in Game of Death 2, so many. You'll see Lee Hoi-san. If you're getting new to Sammo's and Jackie's, you'll see Lee Hoi-san a lot, so get used to him. He's our main villain, who has this strong palm technique, also adds Chong Fat here and Lam Ching Ying as his henchman. Nice to see Lee Hoi-san as the main villain role. As I'd say, he's usually mainly just a guest spot or a henchman or one of the sort of baddies, quote unquote, but here he is the main sort of antagonist of the film. Even though it's not him causing the trouble, it is him very much obviously who Sammo has to fight at the end. We meet Fong Hak-on as his son, who's always chasing women and just a complete jerk, basically. Unfortunately, this is roles that Fong Hak-on become sort of associated with. He was always that nasty, horrible guy who you always just wanted to get his comeuppance, as I say, like the henchman in Police Story. He's always just like that nasty, awful guy who's sort of schneiding. He's always causing trouble. Always, he's very good at playing. So he basically, the old man from earlier who Sammo beat up tells Master Ko that Butcher Wing beat him up for no reason, and that Wong Fei Hung called him a phony. So this guy, for no reason, this old guy who had his sort of chess piece stolen and all that, not the guy who had his stolen the, actually yeah, it was the guy who had his thing stolen. He's making up, he's just talking smack, right? He's basically just causing trouble for no reason other than he just can cause some trouble. So Master Ko turns up and challenges Wong Fei Hung, which turns into like a calligraphy duel. What is very interesting here is that Wong Fei Hung doesn't actually engage in the fight with him. He merely just humours him. He's not actually fighting Master Ko at this point. He's basically just the whole film is set over this, like the whole fight sequence is set during this like calligraphy that Wong Fei Hung is trying to complete. But he's not actually fighting him. He's not actually dueling him in any way. Which is quite funny. I mean, it's a really interesting scene. You basically just humour him. Master Ko at one point saying, "If you finish your work, I will carry your shoes." And it's just great fun done in that classic Yuen Woo-ping style. After the duel, Master Ko says, "If this happens again, I will tear down your Po Chi Lam sign." So some nice comedy moments throughout. For example, Lam being pushed and this guy... like Lam being punished and being he's sort of got these pots that one he's holding in his mouth, and this guy urinates into the pot that he's holding because he's sort of blind, which if you watch that scene, it actually looks like real wee as well. It actually looks like the guy is actually weeing, because it looks a bit too real to me. But yeah, this guy just wanders into the Po Chi Lam. Sammo's sort of being punished doing these sort of this stance. I think he's doing like a horse stance, and this guy just starts he's pushing his stick everywhere to try and feel where the pot is, and it's like the smallest hole, and he can't work out why it's so small. And Sammo's sort of shaking the pot, trying it, because the guy's just sort of weeing right in front of him. Just keeping like the slapstick comedy stuff happening there. So Butcher Wing's brother turns up in the market with his wife, and both looking for Sammo. Fong Hak-hong gets the hots for his girl, like sort of his missus. So pretends he knows, like Butcher Wing, takes them back to his place, where he basically just tries to assault the guy's wife. He basically just, like I say, Fong Hak-hong, he's always in these kind of roles where he's like a womanizer. He is always two-faced. He's very sort of, you never really know who he is, because he'll say anything just to get what he wants and get out of trouble. So he basically just starts assaulting his wife, and beats and throws Sai Kwong out. I mean, quite brutal stuff is implied here. Like, you know, he's just basically assaulted his wife right in front of him. He kicks the guy out, takes his wife off him, and it's quite... The film is very much... It's not as light-hearted as Drunken Master. It's definitely not as... There's a lot of brutalness in the film that is implied. There is still comedy in it, but there is a bit more harder. It's a bit more hard-edged, say, than films like sort of Snake and the Eagle's Shadow and Drunken Master, which in many ways was sort of quite gentle. Magnificent Butcher itself is actually quite brutal with sort of the subject matter and what happens throughout the course of the plot. We still get the comedy throughout, as I mentioned, like Sammo doing an impression of Wong Fei Hung and trying to fool Yuen Bu and Wei Pei here. So Wong Fei Hung is going away on a trip. So Sai Kwong attacks Fong Hak-hong in the street and starts beating him in the street. Sammo, with no context of this situation, goes to defend him and beats his brother, not realising that the guy is actually his own brother. The beggar role turns up Beggar So, who stumbles upon Sai Kwong, who is about to hang himself as he can't get his wife back. Even suicide is implied in this film as well, implying he's going to kill himself because he just can't believe this has happened. As I say, Sammo doesn't even know that that's his brother at this point. Even this gets turned into a comedy scene. Even the suicide where this guy is about to end his life gets turned into a comedy scene, with the beggar saying, well, you won't need your kitchen shirt or your trousers anymore, I'll take them. And he's just sort of taking them off of him as he's trying to sort of hang himself. And he does actually save him from hanging himself. The film doesn't go that brutal. Basically shows him his skill at one point. It's quite interesting. There's a fair chunk of this movie where Sammo actually isn't in it. It's very, the opening of the movie and the setup to get to where you need to with the plot. Sammo actually isn't in all of it. Like, he does disappear for like a little bit, where sort of like Snake and Eagle Shadow, Drunken Master, Jackie Chan is there all the time. This film, Sammo Hung he's for a while he doesn't appear. It's very much rooted on his brother, and sort of the beggar character, and he does sort of in many ways sort of take a back seat. So the beggar goes to buy wine and teaches Fong Ha-kong a lesson, who then proceeds to get Sammo to help him as he saved him earlier. So like Sammo's teaming up with Fong Ha-kong. He doesn't know what kind of guy he is. He doesn't know what a jerk he is, basically. Here we have the pop-by music as the beggar drinks wine before fighting Sammo, which was quite amusing. I love how just one punch is thrown into tea house. One punch is thrown and everyone in the tea house just leaves because they know there's going to be a rumble. Some great stuff here and a fun fight scene. Really good stuff, doing snake form together, etc., which really is good fun to see. Mei-sheng had to be doubled quite a lot of it too, which makes the camera placement and positioning even more impressive, because he was a kung fu guy, but there were certain moves obviously that he couldn't do, but it was no different obviously, I'm sure, when Yuen Woo-ping was working with his father, because obviously he was very limited, he was a lot older. But here Mei-sheng does get doubled quite a lot. So Fong Ha-kong leaves, fearing Sammo is getting beaten. The beggar tells Butcher Wing about his brother and what's happened, and they go to get his wife back from Fong Ha-kong, and in the process also take Master Ko's goddaughter. So they go back to Sammo's place and celebrate, yet the goddaughter has been trying to tell them who she really is, but hasn't been able to get like a word in. So she tries to teach him a lesson by being very awkward, like extremely awkward. Sammo goes out with the beggar, she won't leave. Ko Ta-ho finds and begins like... Fong Ha-kong's character finds her and he begins to assault her in Wing's place, even though she is like his adopted sister. I mean, it's like I say, it's not nice stuff here. It's quite brutal. It's quite intense. And like I say, anything where there is sort of rape implied or sort of assault, or it's not great to watch. Like I say, it's very much a lot harsher in its nature as compared to something like Drunken Master, or sort of the stuff you would expect from Yuen Woo-ping. But I'd imagine this probably might have had a lot to do with Sammo, and it might have been a creative decision from the pair of them, from Sammo and Yuen Woo-ping, to do something a bit more, do comedy, but make it almost like a thriller, make it a bit more hard-edged, make it a bit more brutal in its nature, you know. So after this, he kills her, and the night watchman finds the body in one of his rings that Fong Ha-kong's dropped. So Fong Ha-kong tells Master Ko that Wing took her and is trying to set him up. Wing comes home and finds the body. Master Ko visits Wing's place with his goons, where Fong is trying to set Wing up for murder. If Sammo had just left this goddaughter there, this whole mess could have been avoided. Like, this could have totally and utterly been avoided. But because he took her, she gets murdered in his place. It's just unfortunate, shall we say. So Sammo escapes and they go after the Poachy Lamb clinic. We get some great speedy fan work here from Lam Ching-ying. It's a really, really fun scene. And again, scene that Sammo's not even in. And that's what's so weird about this movie. If you watch it, Sammo is not in every fight. He's not in every scene. He's not in it throughout the whole movie. When Lam Ching-ying fights Yuen Bu, amazing stuff here, and Wei Pei taking on the monkey staff. Though in some shots, if you look closer, you can see it's Yuen Bu doing some of the movements, I believe. I think Yuen Bu, obviously renowned for being such an amazing stuntman, did so much doubling for so many actors and kung fu performers. I think Yuen Bu is doing some of the doubles here. I mean, up to this point, this is the best action scene of the movie, probably so far, and Sammo's not in it. Which I say, a lot of people forget. They think it's a Sammo Hung vehicle, and it very much ways it is, but like this fight here, which is an amazing fight scene, Sammo's not even there, but he might have obviously been behind the camera choreographing it, sorting out camera angles and things like that. Though to be fair, like I say, Sammo was already an upcoming name. It wasn't like Yuen Woo-ping had to launch his career or anything. As Sammo was used to doing things his way, it wasn't like he had to sort of launch Sammo as such, like I mentioned earlier, like Jackie Chan. Sammo was sort of getting established at this point. He pretty much had a rep anyway, so this was just a chance for him to work with Woo-ping. Nice time for work from Wei Pei too. Sammo helps at last minute and gets hit by Master Ko's palm technique. So the beggar fixes this. Wei Pei and Yuen Bu go to get Master Wong Fei Hung and talk about what's happened as Butcher Wing is hurt and been framed. The beggar here begins to teach Butcher Wing the 12 bridge hands of Hung Gar. These scenes are good in this movie. They're just, the training scenes are good. They're just so brief. Like, there's not an in-depth, like Drunken Master is very much a training movie. Here, there is training, like with the beggar teaching Sammo, but it's not like the great training scenes, say, like in Knockabout. The training scenes in this film are good, but I just think they're too brief. I don't think they go on long enough, which is a shame. So if you look at something compared to, say, Knockabout or Drunken Master, there's really not much in the way of training scenes. So Chong Fat is dispatched to deal with Butcher Wing using cat style. Nice, fun fight, like furious fight scene here between him and Sammo. Some people find this fight, they might find it a bit silly with some of the cat noises and the style that Chong Fat is using, but it is a really good fight scene. It is, like I say, the Yuen Ping and his clan were known for being quite wacky, being a bit eccentric with what they do. I mean, look no further than like a film like Miracle Fighters. That is very much a Yuen Ping fight scene that you've got going on here. To me, it's just typical Yuen Ping. As I say, my favourite line when he says, "I'll beat you till you are screaming like a cat in heat," which I thought was quite a funny line. There's also a funny moment when Sammo thinks he's been taught iron palm, but the beggar is just basically telling him how to prepare pig trotters, like burn them, rub salt into them, and Sammo's actually doing this with his hands, thinking he's actually being taught sort of the palm technique, but all he's doing is, because the beggar's just sort of relaxing, he's sort of telling Sammo sort of how to prepare the meat that they've got for their dinner. Like he's talking about a slice of fingernails, chop them all into little pieces, and Sammo's like, "What? Chop it into little pieces? What are you talking?" He's giving these looks like, "Are you absolutely insane?" Which I thought was quite funny. So that night, the night watchman from earlier confronts Fong Hakon and tells him how he wants 1,000 taels, so he will keep quiet and not reveal his secret. Fong Hakon stabs him and he manages to get away and runs into Butcher Wing, Butcher Wing's brother's house, and reveals the truth to him, and Fong Hakon kills him too. I mean, he's a nasty piece of work. He's a real nasty piece of work, Fong Hakon, in this movie. He really, like I say, he's just one of them characters, unfortunately, where you just want him to get his comeuppance. You just really want something bad to happen to Fong Hakon, which Sammo does get payback. So he reveals the truth to him. Sammo comes to take him out at the banquet he's having on a barge, taking him within the funeral tablet of his brother. Sammo kills him, of course, and Master Ko wants revenge, as Sammo in his eyes has killed his goddaughter as well, and his son. So, like I say, Sammo's really PO'd Master Ko at this point. But what's so frustrating is Master Ko never knows or wants to accept what monster his son is. That's the real shame about it. Like, Fong Hakon has caused all this trouble. He's caused all this nuisance for Sammo and everybody. And that Master Ko just won't accept the truth, which is annoying, but you just get to that point where Sammo's like, "You're not going to ever believe me. I've tried to tell you." So, as I say, that's what's so frustrating about Lee Hoi Sang's character. Just will not accept that what a monster his son was. So Wing puts back up the shattered Po Chi Lam sign and takes on Master Ko using like leopard style, snake, dragon and crane forms. Real energetic, fast fun fight scene here between Sammo and Lee Hoi Sang, and really great kung fu finale that ends the movie. Sammo doing some amazing flips and spins here and there. It's like I say, a wonderful, wonderful fight scene. Still comedy moments involved, of course, like Sammo setting his hand on fire from not his hand, sorry, his behind on fire from sort of some burning coals. So the comedy is still very much there. The whole fight is just it's just Sammo showing off, basically. This end fight scene is just Sammo just doing his thing, showing what an amazing performer he is, showing how agile he is, and just showing, like I say, he's one of, if not one of the greatest talents, like I say, the Kung Fu martial arts world has ever seen. I say, and the great thing is with that end fight, it's not too short. It's quite a long fight scene, and it sort of in a way makes up for sort of the lack of action throughout, say, the first third, 2/3 of the movie. Quite a long scene, as I say, use Master Ko's son's memorial tablet so he doesn't hit him at one point. Wong Fei Hung returns and sees that Butcher Wing has put the back up the Po Chi Lam sign, even though he's done it upside down. So, although it's not like really heavy on the comedy, it's very much, like I say, an almost thriller-esque. It's still an amazing Sammo Hung vehicle, a great Yuen Ping directional effort here, and it's so great to see Kwan Tak-hing as well as Wong Fei Hung. But I'm sure if you're into your kung fu, you know your kung fu movies, I'm sure Magnificent Butcher is definitely one you have seen. But if you haven't seen it, definitely go and check it out. It's, like I say, it's very much a lot more serious than, say, Drunken Master, but definitely a great Sammo Hung film. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon.